Tell me a fact and I will learn. Tell me a truth and I will believe. But tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. The Utah Women's Walk is a project dedicated to telling the stories of remarkable women. It is a rare combination of art and education that engages both the heart and mind. These are the type of stories that once you hear them, they will live in your heart forever. There is nothing particularly interesting about another's life story unless we can say as we read it, "Why, this is what I have been through." Perhaps, after all, there is a way to work things out. The women honored in the Utah Women's Walk are not remarkable because they are so different than us, but because they are just like us. The Utah Women's Walk is a living, breathing memorial designed to change our view of the world and to have our own lives implicated in the process. And maybe, just maybe, to recognize that in our own lives, amid our own challenges, that there is a way to work things out. The genesis of the Utah Women's Walk is found in this Glenna Goodacre statue on the Mall in Washington, D.C. that was dedicated in November of 1993. It is a heroic-size bronze depicting 3 Vietnam-era women caring for a wounded soldier. The statue is placed just yards from the wall where the names of over 58,000 soldiers who died during Vietnam are etched into the polished black granite. Diane Carlson Evans, a former nurse who served in Vietnam and creator of the Vietnam Women's Memorial Project, invited Tim and Michelle Welsh to the dedicatory ceremony. During the service, Evans spoke of the approximately 11,000 American military women who were stationed in Vietnam during the war, most of them as volunteers. Evans emphasized the need to recognize not only the men who served in Vietnam, but the women who nursed their wounds. It was in that moment that an idea was born. Years later, Michelle invited her niece, Hillary, to walk through the newly completed gardens at Thanksgiving Point in Lehi, Utah. Hillary's mother, Rebecca Devitt Welsh, had died from cancer when Hillary was only 8 years old. As they walked through the beautiful landscape, Michelle told Hillary stories about her mother. The ambience of the garden provided an unexpected environment to heal the heart of a young girl still grieving from the loss of a mother she was afraid she would forget. With the memory of the Vietnam Women's Memorial and the experience in the Thanksgiving Point Garden, Michelle learned in the months following of other memorials dedicated to honoring women, such as the Boston's Women Heritage Trail, commemorating the contributions of women to their state's history, and Portland State University's Walk of the Heroines. From these collective experiences, the idea of the Utah Women's Walk started to take shape. The official launch of the Utah Women's Walk came in the form of a master's program in American Studies at Utah State University. There, Michelle began with interviewing and writing short biographies of 10 Utah women who reflected a wide variety of accomplishments and a broad scope of interests and talents, and also who represented various geographic areas of the state. 22 years, tens of thousands of dollars, and 100 fully completed and archived biographies later, the Utah Women's Walk is making final preparation to be officially introduced to the world. From its beginning in 1993, the Utah Women's Walk has morphed into a unique public-private collaboration between Utah Valley University and the breathtaking 55 acres of Thanksgiving Point Gardens. The academic component at UVU is deeply rooted in engaged learning and includes both the Women's Success Center and students from various programs, including American Studies, Folklore, English, and Political Science. Students are given the opportunity to select a woman they admire and who is in their respective field of study to research. The power to change lives comes from not only having these students read their stories, but more importantly, to research and write their stories. This experience of implicating our lives in the stories of others is called reflective ethnography. It is what Eleanor Roosevelt was speaking of and what Hillary experienced. When students and patrons become immersed in the stories, they begin to see striking similarities with their own lives. It is in that moment where new ideas are formed, where a resolve to face challenges is forged, and when a determination to make their own life meaningful emerges. Listen as UVU President Matthew Holland explains how the engaged learning component of the Utah Women's Walk enhances the overall academic experience for students.
We are so pleased as a university to be the academic support for the research being done with the Utah Women's Walk. It's currently a project that's housed in association with our American Studies program in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And I have to say, our English students are having an outstanding experience, engaged learning experience, which goes to the heart of our pedagogy here at UVU as they research, write about, and pay tribute to women that they most admire.
The Utah Women's Walk is more than stunning art in a beautiful garden. It is also a catalyst to improve graduation rates among female students at UVU, as explained by Dr. Ann Wairapo, Director of the Women's Success Center.
The mission of the Women's Success Center is to help women enter and graduate from Utah Valley University, to improve the lives of them and their families, to help them become more financially stable, and to really improve the fabric of society. The Utah Women's Walk is another great program that helps do those things. It's full of stories of women living and breathing today or from the past that have really helped our state to be successful, and students use these stories to see that they can do things too. It's been wonderful to work with the director, Michelle Welch, and also with Belinda Hahn, the director of the Center for the Advancement of Leadership.
Providing transcriptions and recordings of notable Utah women is a great resource for not only the students at Utah Valley University, but for the general public. I love reading the stories of the women on the Utah Women's Walk page. The Utah Women's Walk provides role models, inspiration, and motivation for our students in the Center for the Advancement of Leadership.
The official opening of the Utah Women's Walk will result in a stunning display in the Rose Garden at Thanksgiving Point Gardens, where patrons can read a sampling of over 100 short biographies, or listen to a brief narration of a person of their choosing on a smartphone while strolling past sculptures of these extraordinary women. The stories of the women honored in the Utah Women's Walk are stories that are still changing lives today. Women like author and historian Juanita Brooks. After obtaining her master's degree from Columbia University, Brooks became an instructor of English and dean of women at Dixie College. In 1933, she retired to raise her large family and to edit various pioneer documents and diaries. Besides her numerous historical articles, biographies, and groundbreaking work on the Mountain Meadows Massacre, she found time to deliver daily meals to an invalid neighbor. Or someone in public service like Christine Durham, who graduated from Duke Law School, and throughout most of her distinguished legal career, she became an outspoken advocate of female role models in public life. In 2002, she ascended to the highest legal position in the state when she was named Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court. Or perhaps a woman like Sarah Ann Daft, who was a pioneer immigrant from England in 1856, and for 20 years following her husband's death, she became a leading entrepreneur, investor, and real estate developer. The nonprofit Sarah Daft Home, which opened in 1912, has been in continuous operation for over 100 years. Too often, when we hear stories of women like Juanita Brooks, Christine Durham, Sarah Ann Daft, or 100 others just like them, we are reading the headlines. The Utah Women's Walk allows you to experience the heart lines, the tears, the disappointment, the regret, the angst, and also the refusal to stop trying when there were plenty of reasons to surrender. In a very real way, the Utah Women's Walk is not just about changing attitudes and opinions about Utah women. It is about changing lives by telling and retelling their stories, stories that will live in our hearts forever.